Hello again. This is the Truth of Creation video 2. Actually, this will be video 3 since the last one had a accidental break in the middle of it. This is the existence of God, the confusing facts from religion and science. I'm Marvin Swain, as I've said. This is the second or third in a series, and it's meant to relate the correlation of facts in creation and in science, which seem to drive the masses apart when talking about religion. The next video will be based on the comments that are sent to the website, and as you know, this is the information. The website will be up in a few days. The Kickstarter will be up in a few days, and you go to Truth of Creation videos. Okay, as I stated in the first video, I believe the universe was created in the Big Bang by God 14 billion years ago. The main thing I believe is an honest mistake and confusion is that the thought of the life of Adam was only 930 years, that when he passed away. I also believe it's a mistake that the earth is only 7,000 to 10,000 years old, when in fact I believe the time between creation and when Adam sinned could span the 14 billion years science believe. Is it a huge stretch? I don't think of it as a stretch. I don't think so. The facts are there to look at. Put them together for yourself. As I said, I like to read everything so I don't forget any points of the theory. As I go, I'm going to try to speak a little bit about each theory or several theories as I go. Okay. Jesus spoke about things as being close to the end of times, so much that people thought in the first century was going to be when Jesus would come back, or the second century Jesus was going to come back. But that would explain to me why it was spoke of like such a short time that Jesus was going to come back, that the original time before Adam's sin was so long that it's like the next day comparatively. If it's 14 billion years that the earth has been going on, it would be like a few minutes to them for Jesus to come back. Another thought about the confusion of religion: the worship of the sun god of the Gentile races could have been, or probably was, originally the worship of the Son of God. It just seems like an honest mistake brought on by time and language barriers and culture barriers. And we should be able to say that because of the Tower of Babel being about 3,500 years ago or so, that based on the Bible, whatever language languages we have now, the Sumerian language should have been the universal language God gave us, as that's where the original civilizations after the Ark settled, if I'm not mistaken. If someone has a lot of knowledge about that, please send it in. I'd like to hear anything about Sumerian histories and connections to the Bible and the Bible stories. Regardless, it's easy for me to believe in an eternal, all-powerful God who does what he wants and to do, and not what we expect him to do. I should also step back now and tell you a little bit more about myself and my experiences in life and what prompts me to believe the way I believe. I'm 34, or I wish I was 34. I'm 53 years young, a confirmed bachelor, and a non-denominational Christian. I'm very conservative minded. I'm heterosexual. I love science. I'm pro-child, pro-senior citizen, and animal special protection. I think the laws need higher penalties for violent acts against all categories. I want to do something to get rid of crime, and I want to help people, and this is hopefully my way of helping a little bit. My IQ tests out at about 128, but because, of course, of the 7 point leeway you're allowed, I always make it 135. I believe all things in existence are a result of God's creation. Regardless if man creates it, we're here because God created us. So it's a result of God's creation. I have Asperger's syndrome, which an untrained eye can look at well, in the old days, could look at my actions and think of it as mentally retarded. Um, it's if you don't know how to handle Asperger's, it can be difficult because it's a, um, a syndrome that keeps you kind of separated from the regular general public. It makes you learn and understand differently. It's autism, but actually based on the word retarded, which means retarded by held back by an outside source. It applies to Asperger's, but retarded is not that bad of a word in my opinion. The biggest issue seems to be communication, interacting with people. My memory is also a major factor. It isn't me. It's something that I can be overcome, but it kind of causes issues. And another reason why I write everything down. It can cause, as in me, it caused difficulties learning in school, being in groups, having close contact with unfamiliar people. With going to groups, it kind of causes a dysfunctional nature with me. I have a little difficulty learning preset systems or mechanics and math. Depends on who's teaching it. Although I feel Asperger's gives you greater creative aspirations and it gives you greater reasoning abilities, I feel. It was mild for me, so I don't have savant skills that are noticeable. I wouldn't mind having a few savant skills. Because of Asperger's induced separation and frustration, I went through a pretty severe drug and alcohol phase that somewhat ruined part of my life, but I'm well past and well over. I feel like my tendency to jump from subject to subject and evaluate its worth, another cause of Asperger's, which is any subject I'm on, it's helped me with the subject to judge its value and its matter. There's also a lot of things I'm interested in that are on these videos that applies. It helped me, I think, reason out their value. What we're trying to do is like put together a giant puzzle. It's like a giant puzzle of 100,000 pieces, and we have a couple of thousand pieces to put it together and figure out what the picture is. For many, I'm going to read more directly now. For me and for many who bring unusual theories and conjecture to be evaluated, the tendency will be the show me or I won't believe attitude. Some will say it's a lie or I hallucinated it. A hallucination is something that you cannot be judged true and real, and it seems very deja vu or surreal to your senses. My experiences warn none of these. So the question will be, do I know my own state of being and what I hear and see around me? Can I evaluate them and judge them correctly? There are tests to know if people understand and evaluate correctly. Set tests. Any event that is out of the normal for masses is in a public setting where there can be large numbers of people screaming or running to and fro, causing chaos, can cause confusion of miscellaneous facts about the event. Like, for instance, it was an alien ship, but I don't know if there were aliens after it landed because I was fearful and confused, or it was someone shooting, so everyone was running, but there was loud sounds that sounded like a spaceship, but I don't know what they were, but 100 people are dead. Well, there might have been someone accidentally hit by a car and it created simple confusion. Simple, confusing states can't be compared to slow-moving, extended encounters with the unknown. Um, who knows better than the one seeing it what it is? I will talk about my own encounters with the unusual. People will have to think out of the box a little and realize that just because it did not happen to them, it doesn't mean it didn't happen, period. Sometimes God does get involved in our lives. He answers our prayers. He makes something happen. As for me, I have no I have no stake in your future other than Jesus will love that I tried to help you or tried to bring reason to a lot of issues. Um, Now I'll tell you of 4 incidents which shaped my belief in God and knowledge of aliens. These are things virtually everyone I have told rolled their eyes somewhat and um, give me that I can't believe it's true, but they're all true. First, I'll tell you about the Christian cross. I'll read it and maybe talk about it a little. I ordered a cross in the mail and intended it to be a present. When I looked at it, I liked it, so I decided to keep it. I hung it on the rearview mirror of my car. It hung for about 4 inches below the dashboard, out of sight of people outside the car. So I thought I'll have to find a way to wrap it so people could see it, but I never did. One day I noticed it had been wrapped once around the mirror. No one had been in my car. No one ever went in my car. So I thought I must have bumped it with my head while I was cleaning it. But it was still below the dash. A few weeks later, I was at the Arkansas Crater of Diamonds trying to get rich on diamonds and found nothing. When I was done with the search, I went to my car. As I sat in the driver's seat, I noticed the cross had been wrapped around the mirror again and had been slipped through the wraps of its chain and had been somewhat tied like a slip knot. Um, it was just hanging a few inches from the mirror and everyone could see it. And I know I didn't do it. That was I didn't do it. Um, and I sat there for a few minutes staring at it and trying to decide what had happened. And um, as I left a little while later, and as I was driving, I realized pretty much, and I guess before I even left, I realized pretty much what it was. And I decided the meaning was keep your eyes on Jesus, don't turn away from him. Um, it was kind of exhilarating. It wasn't a hair-raising moment. The hackles didn't raise on the back of my neck. It was interesting, but I've always believed in God and Jesus, so I kind of realized that. Next, I'll tell you about the Blue Angel. About 3.5 years ago, in late December, I was at my mother's home for Christmas. About 2:30 or 3 a.m. I got up to go to the bathroom. As I passed Mom's door, I could see a very bright blue light coming from under her door. It was a soft light blue light, but it was bright all the same. The light that usually shone through her door when she was reading at night was a soft yellow light, the normal light you might have in your own home. So I stopped and I stood there a few minutes and I was looking at the door and all the light coming through it, and I was thinking, should I knock or should I not knock? But I didn't. I just figured Mom maybe had went to bed and forgot to turn off her night light. So I went to the bathroom, and a few days later I was watching TV next to Mom as she talked to a friend of hers on the phone. I heard her say to her friend, "Oh, you should have seen the beautiful dream I had the other night. I had a beautiful angel come and stood at me at the foot of my bed and talked to me. She said, I had a beautiful blue angel, light blue angel, come and sit at the foot of my bed and talk to me." Needless to say, my ears perked up, and she went on to say she was fascinated and more. And when she got off the phone, I told her, "Mom, it was not a dream. I saw that bright blue light under your door the other night." We discussed it for a while. My favorite story. We discussed it for a while, and she told me that it was a friend of hers. She thought that it was an angel, his ex-wife or his wife who had passed away, and was come to tell him that everything was all right. Pardon me. The incident was pretty interesting. Although I didn't see the angel, I wish I would have. I saw the light, and I know that light was unusual. Um, my next one, my favorite story, is about Noah's Ark. Uh, it was a Noah's Ark cloud. Pardon me, I got a little bit of a cold. Okay, here's the story. Back in 1995, I was driving a truck coming out of California on I-10. I had just crossed into Nevada not too long before the incident. I could just see what I believe was Colorado mountains that were kind of growing up in the distance. The backstory is I always thought the depiction of Noah's Ark was wrong. The door was wrong. God did not tell Noah to make an ark that he would have to physically hold up in the water. He wanted an ark to float on its own, so he would not have to, or he would not have had him build it. He would have held up Noah and his family by his hands or whatever means he felt was necessary. So always keeping that in the back of my mind, I knew it was a misrepresentation of the Noah's Ark. So on this day in 1995, there was not a single cloud in the sky. It was a beautiful, perfectly blue sky, no clouds, period. So I thought it'd be a perfect day for God to tell me about the Noah's Ark door. I don't know why it struck me to ask in this prayer. It just did, and I got an answer to the prayer. And it happened all in like 10 seconds. When I thought about it, I saw the sky, I thought about that, I thought about the prayer, and I did it. Pardon me. I don't promote bowing your head for prayer while driving. It was a spur of the moment thing for me. To do it intentionally would be to test God, and as religious people know, the Bible says, do not test the Lord your God. Anyway, as I was driving, I bowed my head and said a prayer. And the prayer was, Lord, if you want me to build the ark, at least show me what the door should look like. And that was always my intent. I wanted to build a full-size ark. I raised my head, and there was the ark. It was an accurate to the actual size representation of the original Noah's Ark in a cloud. I feel it was. It was right in front of me. It looked like it was a mile from end to end with perfectly straight lines. I hope it is possible that someone took pictures of it. There were 50 to 75 cars close enough to get a good look or get a good picture or video of it. It was probably could be seen for quite a long ways off. Maybe someone will hear about this and send in a picture of it to truthofcreation.org. This painting is exactly what it looked like. I made a painting of it. This is the second version. And my thing was, this is what I wanted to know about the door. And that's what it looked like up to the light windows. This is a not accurate number, but this is what they look like. And if you look here, the back is bigger than the front. The back is bigger than the front. And I take that to mean that it would set in the water and let the front ride high where the door was, by there being greater amount of volume and weight back here, but just enough so that it would ride perfect and keep this door high above the waves. But I could see these windows too. Anyway, it was a very exhilarating sight, and as you might guess, all the hackles on the back of my neck rose up whenever this guy was there. And it happened, it was there when I finished the prayer, about I don't know, 3 or 4 second prayer. And to me it's amazing, and this did happen. This is truth. The rest is conjecture. This is the actual truth in the other 2 stories of my brushes with God. So all I can say is, if you believe it, you believe it. If you don't, you don't. Like I said, I hope someone has took a picture of it and can show it. The ark had a door that looked like the hood of a car, and I could see the row of windows. I didn't count them, so the number's wrong. I'm sure that's what it looked like. All the hackles, when I saw it, all the hackles went up on the back of my neck. Um, I knew I had just prayed for it, but it still kind of scared me a little bit. And I burned it into my memory. That's an accurate representation of it. Um, the design did strike me as being perfect, as I described. The rear end was bigger than the front, which to me would mean that it would hold it up. Um, okay, well, I guess that's enough about that. Um, Actually, I thought about many times, why did God show it to me? I've never been able to build it. I'm pretty far away from being a prophet. I've not had a life that would be considered on the right side of God. Um, I lived a pretty Caligula life when I was younger. Um, I feel the reason it happened is that when I asked, it was as if I was making a call and I knew it would be answered. I don't even know what struck me to do it, just the clear blue sky. Um, my only reason really was I wanted to know what the door was like so I could build an accurate rendition of it, and I got the whole arc. I think he might have wanted it to be straightened out. The depiction of it might have been wanting it to be accurate in our eyes. Um, I think the faithful people will be um, will accept the uh, depiction I showed them of it, and I think they'll understand that I'm not doing it for anything. I would like to have somebody build a copy of it. Maybe I'll have the money one day. Um, One moment. Finally, people tend to glorify the messenger, not God. I know I probably uh, if you give it to somebody who had a perfect lifestyle and the people believe it, they will probably want to glorify the person who's bringing it. I don't feel like anybody's probably going to want to glorify me. Um, Finally, I'm going to tell you about the unidentified object I saw in 1974. Uh, it was technically identified by me as a Foo Fighter, which, as everyone knows, was a series of flybys by small reddish-orange globes that would buzz would buzz Allied and Axis planes during World War II. Both sides thought they were secret weapons from the other side. I saw mine in September of 1974. It was late one night in Port Acres, Texas. That's the southeast corner of Texas, right down by the coast. Mine was a red light with no glow to the light. That's what piqued my interest. There was no glow to the light. Um, I was sitting on the hood of my car waiting for a friend of mine. It was about 3 a.m. He's a musician and was usually out till about that time. And I'd moved recently with my family about a year before, but had lived on that street for a couple of years. And as I sat there, I looked down the end of the road and I noticed what looked like an aerial light from four airplanes, so they wouldn't run into the ground or homes or whatever. And from where I was, it looked like it might be about a foot in diameter or so, maybe a little less. There was no glow to light, as I stated it. And then as I stared, it was I knew that an airplane would never fly there. It was too close to the ground, and there were no reasons for an airplane to be there. So I decided to check it out. As I looked at it, I started to slide my left foot off the car, and it started moving real slowly to my left. And then when I saw that, I jumped off the car, and started moving just a little bit faster. And then I jumped into the car seat, and by the time I had jumped into the car seat, it had just about went behind the trees in that direction. Um, so I took off and I went after it. I jumped into the car. I drove down to the into the road, which is Jade Avenue, and I turned left, which I believe is south on Jade, or southwest, southish. I slowly drove down looking for the light. I couldn't see it, so I turned right or turned left on 62nd. which is, I believe, was east. And I kept going slow. Suddenly I saw above the trees, kind of in a northerly direction toward my left, and I went to Garnet and turned up and went towards 65th. I got about halfway. Well, then I turned again on 63rd, going north, and I got about halfway to Jade. When I saw it, it was above the trees. It wasn't, and I started going less than idle, and I was watching it, and it was going up and going down, coming up and kind of circling around a little bit right there, but it kept going up and down, below and above the trees. Um, as close as it was looked like about that big. So I figure if I'd have been right on top of it, it would have been about so big, which you might not be able to see that in the camera, about 3 foot. It seemed like it was playing hide and seek with me. Didn't scare me at that moment, but anyway, I went around the block again as I was watching it, and then it got away from me. So I crossed Jade and headed west to Dick Dowling Elementary, and I turned south of Dick Dowling, and I drove and then turned right and turned west beside Dick Dowling, and I drove about 100 feet, and I stopped, and I couldn't find it anymore. So I got out and I stood on the running board, and I had my elbow on the car door and the other one on the hood, or the roof, and I was looking around, and then I looked right above me, straight above me, and it was pretty high. I took it to be about a mile in the air, and all of a sudden it took off what I believe was a westerly direction, and it went straight so far and so fast it didn't go behind anything. It just got too small for me to see, and needless to say, I thought that was amazing. And I looked around for about 10 or 15 seconds, and it's like it had went around the earth and came back, and it stopped exactly where it was above me. And I got nervous and scared. I was 15 years old, and I jumped in the car and took off. So the next night, while I was working at Storage Seafood, I worked there, driving their van, delivering food. I delivered to the local refineries in the area. I decided to use it to go by and see if I could see it, and it was there. I thought the van was a hopped-up speedster, but you know, I was 15 years old, so I didn't really understand the concept of chasing something that could go that fast. I followed it to 365, and I turned west on 365, and I followed it going about 100 miles an hour down the highway for about 7 miles, and finally I kind of came to my senses, and I stopped and I turned around and left. That's the last I've seen of it. I've never seen a UFO again. I've never had any close encounters or anything like that, but I don't believe that it was man-made. My brother, for instance, said we were 75 miles from NASA. It could have been a government experimental craft. It could have been man-made, but I don't believe it was too advanced. I do believe if it was man-made, that human astronauts have been to Mars. Probably they've been to all the planets and out of this solar system, because that technology was just way too high to have been, you know, not if it was man-made. It's something. Over the years, I've heard many explanations about what it could have been. Pardon me. One of the explanations I heard is it could be an angel I saw, and if angels can take different forms, I suppose that could be true, that they could be floating around the earth watching over people. I don't necessarily believe that's true. I don't think that's the position of an angel, but if an angel is not necessarily a winged being, a winged humanoid, it could be an angel. I heard it could be some kind of energy life form indigenous to the earth, which we have not verified or found yet, some kind of intelligent life that just roams around like gas. Um, it could be true. I would say it. Um, if it is, we should be polite to it because it's pretty powerful, I think. I tend to think because of the size, it was some sort of drone craft from aliens, unless it was actually little aliens about 4 to 5 inches tall, which I don't really believe that, but I think it was a drone craft. Um, uh, I've heard um, suggestions that it could be some kind of Anunnaki drone craft. If you know about the Anunnaki is a Sumerian legend of, if I understand this correctly, it's a Sumerian legend about the fallen angels that were banished to this planet, and which is called Nibiru, and there's a big following of the Anunnaki and Nibiru coming around because it's supposed to come into our uh, according to the Sumerian legends, it should be coming into our view of Earth where we can see it with the naked eye with by 2014, late 2014 or early 2015 at the latest. So if that's true, we'll all know that's true. But if that is true, then it could be um, Anunnaki drones, Anunnaki uh, pilotless drones. I think if they have the technology to come here, that could probably be simple technology for them. Um, the legend is that the Anunnaki created a race of gold miners from some humanoid ape, monkey, or man, and they used their own DNA to create a half breed race of gold miners because the Anunnaki themselves didn't want to mine gold. The reason they were mining gold is to refuse their atmosphere with to keep heat and life-giving sources inside the atmosphere because of their long orbit, which comes near the sun and then goes way out away from the sun in a 3,600 year orbit. That because of the coming close to the sun and then going away from the sun cause their atmosphere to eventually decay with the heat and then the cold. And what they're trying to do is fill the atmosphere with gold particles, which keep the rays. That's my understanding of what they were. And there is satellite photos of the area where this was supposed to have taken place. And they've recently said they found gold mines that were estimated to be 250,000 to 350,000 years old, and satellite photos of an ancient settlement that looks to me like it could be 1,000 miles by 3,000 miles, um, just packed full of ancient dwellings that were made out of rock. It's really very large, and it's right in that area, and it's supposedly about 250,000 years old also. So something to look at. Um, the UFO had many fantastic qualities to be a man-made craft. In my opinion, the technology was too high, and who but God can say it was a life form of Earth or our solar system or other planets. It could have been from anywhere. Also, a few more words about the Anunnaki. The legend of Sumeria is the Anunnaki, who are the fallen angels of the Bible, were sent to planet Nibiru as punishment for their sin against God. Over a long period, millions of years, their planet started losing its atmosphere. Their contact was said to have happened 500 to 200, I believe it was 500,000 to 250,000 years ago. That's when they started experiment with humans to make a hybrid human. Um, so there, that also lends to the 14 billion uh, year old Earth theory I have, because their theory is that they're saying that it's the fallen angels. Nibiru, another name for Nibiru could be hell. I don't know. Um, let's see, let me skip ahead. The movie The Fourth Kind is based on the true story of their coming back now in Alaska. Um, if this is true, it might explain why we don't have any gold in Fort Knox. I saw a show on, I believe it was the Discovery Channel, which said a lot of people believe there is no gold in Fort Knox, and they say we may have sold it to the to China or to Russia or whatever, or we've moved it. If the Anunnaki story is true, that they come here demanding gold, if a powerful race with powerful weapons came and said, give us the gold or we're going to destroy everything, I imagine they would give them the gold. We'll never know that because they'll never tell us. Because, number one reason is because what happened with the War of the Worlds broadcast by Orson Welles, when people started hanging themselves and shooting at each other and going generally nuts over a simple radio program. What would happen if we actually knew there was a race like the Anunnaki here? I think we would probably kill 90% of our own ourselves and going lunatic on each other. Of course, I said, according to the legend, it's approximately now when we'll start to see their planet, so we'll know shortly if that's true. And to summarize this reading, people have this idea that God is this feeble old man who sits on a throne in his throne room, 24 hours a day, never moving, never doing anything but chastising evildoers. I bet the people who get to see God will find him going places, joking, maybe playing sports and participating in festivals. I believe the only difference between heaven and earth is there will be no evil, no hurting or desire. We have desire to use and hurt one another. That will be gone. God, I believe, we will find him walking in parks and under giant mountains and vistas of all types all over the universe. I do strongly believe the universe was created for the children of God to roam in after whenever we get to enter eternity with God. Sort of a playground, if you will, and I believe we'll find all types of sentient beings who understand love and want to be there and have that desire. As I said, the way to get there is simple. Read the New Testament and you'll see there. New Testament is there to say that Jesus came for all the different cultures, not just the Jewish culture. And don't forget, Jesus was Jewish. Don't hate Jewish people because of what happened. For people who end up upon the video conference, don't forget, you don't have to try and hurt someone's feelings or to argue your point. For anyone who cares enough to get involved, it's going to be an intelligent, calm, relaxed talk. We want to understand your views. I want you to understand my views. I'm interested in finding the truth. We might not all agree on each other's points, but remember, we're only in appearance like God. We're not gods. Don't think your point is the sole true point in the universe, and that you are God and we have to honor you like God, because we're not. I'm not. Don't forget, God is an energy we can't control. He's something, to me, when I think of what would God look like, I kind of think of the comic, the way the comics used to introduce their characters with all kinds of powers, just an energy that probably is in our shape and our form, but specifically an energy unlike anything we can conceive of. And I do believe no scientist will sample the energy of God other than what radiates from him, so we will never understand or know what he is. And for this video conference, people want to be known as rude and insulting. If my view Um, if you're a smart ass, you're not cool. You're just a smart ass. If you're a dumbass, you're not cool. You're just a dumbass. Don't come to this wanting to be a rude punk rocker who insults everybody, because they'll cut you off in a heartbeat. You won't get to see nothing, and you won't get returned any money. That's my warning. No returns for rude people. All right, that's about all I have here. All I can say is I hope to see um, and hear from people on the video conference. Go to Kickstarter.com and look for Truth of Creation videos. Also, look at all the videos on YouTube and get some questions. Think of some answers. Find a friend who can help you come up with something, or just go and join in. And let's try to find some answers. If things work out in a year or two, I'll compile everything and write a book about it. I think that the answers are a lot simpler than we like to make them out. Just remember, we are never going to order God down to tell us exactly what we want to know. So we best live our lives in faith. Regardless of whatever you believe, don't forget, the truth does not change because of what you believe. Thank you very much. God bless you. Hope you have a good day.